I once accidentally sent a video of myself jerking off to my grandma.
Hey, welcome back to Four for the Road, everybody. I'm your host, Punk Rock. We got Road Dirt with us, and then our special guest today, we got Black Jaxx from the Central Valley Chosen Few. How y'all doing today?
Oh man, you doing good, man. What's going on with you? You good?
Yeah, man. We just living, brother. We just living.
That's all you can do, baby.
Yeah, man. We making it. We making it. How about you, Road Dirt? How's your Veterans Day weekend been going?
Great, man. Just been laying around doing a whole lot of nothing. How about yourself?
And just relaxing. Just enjoying the good weather we're having. I prefer the cold weather over the hot weather. So when it's in the 40s here in Jacksonville, feels a lot like it's in the 70s back home. It's great. I'm loving this. Light hoodie weather, perfect. It's perfect.
Can't beat
Black
it.
Jaxx. I see Black Jaxx over there just shaking his head like, nah, fam, that ain't it.
Nah, man. You know what? The cold is different in certain places. You know what I mean? So where I'm at, 40 degrees is like 40 degrees. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's still cold, but it's not gonna stop me from riding though. I'm still gonna get out there.
Yeah, they make leather jackets for a reason,
Yeah.
We've been trying to get, man, before we get into it, because I think we got some good stuff to talk about today. But before we get into that, we keep giving Dave shit because Dave, he didn't grow up with a lot, he's pretty open about that. He grew up on the not rich side of things, but now that he's got a good job, he's got a little bit of money to spend. He still refused to go get a leather fucking jacket. He'll layer on like 6 hoodies before he just goes and gets a leather jacket. And I think what it is, and I understand it where he's coming from. Well, this hoodie's only $60, but this leather jacket's like $200. So I'll just buy 2 hoodies and wear 2 hoodies, and I'm still saving $80. It's like, homie, that ain't it. That ain't, because you do that every winter. You could just buy one leather jacket and be good. Like I told him, I said, dude, my dad bought the leather jacket that I'm wearing in 1974.
Mm-hmm.
You just take care of the motherfucker, it'll last you forever.
I haven't bought one yet, man. I keep telling myself, like, yeah, I'm gonna give me a jacket. I'm gonna get some chaps, just in case. But I just like him. I just layer up, I got a thick lumberjack. I seen a couple of my OGs jump on their bikes one day, and they all put this same black and red lumberjack jacket on. And it just set in my mind, like, I gotta have one. So I'll wear that. It's thick, it does good, but I'll put that on a hoodie. I'll have like 4 long johns on, some joggers, a crew neck sweater under my t-shirt, another long john shirt, 2 t-shirts. I'm good. I'm good.
I'm gonna just wear my body weight in clothes, and then we'd be all right.
I like it because I'm a thin dude, man. So when I got all that on, it make me look big. You know what I'm saying? So it's a win-win. It's a win-win.
I am not, man. So I don't know if you heard the show it's probably about a couple months ago now. This dude recognized me at a gas station. He just looked me up and down and says, "Man, they should have called you Chunk Rock, not Punk Rock." Like, man, fuck. Like,
yeah. So I just layer up, man. I told myself the same thing I told myself last year. I'm gonna get a leather coat this year. I'm gonna be good. But I already know, man. I'm gonna go through all winter, bundled up, no leather coat next year, and I'm gonna tell myself the exact same thing. I'm gonna get me a leather coat this year. So
we just, you know what? We're gonna have an old lady reach out to your old lady and be like, "Hey, motherfucker needs a leather jacket. We need to get this fixed."
Hey, do that. It might push me. Like, you know what? Let me go ahead and get this leather jacket.
Hey, you know what, man? Carhartts ain't bad either.
I heard that. I seen a dude. He tried to blow past me on the freeway, but that wasn't gonna happen. And he had a Carhartt jacket on, and I was like, "Yo, that looked damn good under that vest." So I'm gonna go ahead and invest in one. You can't beat it. It's a farmer jacket. I know it beats the cold.
Yeah.
So you can't beat it.
Yeah, and they're only like $180.
Yeah.
Like on the top end.
So I'm gonna invest in one. I like the coat. I like it.
Yeah. So I think that sums up the fashion portion of this show. So we had a guy write into the inbox, and kind of, I don't want to give out specifics, but Brotherhood having its limits. Is that a thing? Is that if it is a thing, what are the limits, do you guys think? You know, to give kind of an example, for the listeners out there. I know we discussed it a little bit before the show started, but you know, the guy that's always borrowing money, but you know, he pays it back, but he can never afford to go on runs without somebody financing him. But he's always got money for new parts and new clothes and all that kind of shit that he doesn't need, right? Necessarily, um, you know, shit like that.
For me, I think there is a limit. You know what I mean? You don't want to feel like your brother's taking advantage of you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm always financing your runs. I'm always financing, you know, it makes you kind of think like, well, if that's the case, you don't have no money for runs, but you always have new clothes and you always have, you know, brand new bike parts, shoes, and things like that. Am I paying for all of that? You know what I mean? Are you enjoying this? I'm not saying that I wouldn't do it. I'm not saying that I won't help my brother out if he don't have any money and he wants to make this run and he wants to be here. I'm not saying I'm not going to do that because I'm going to. I always want to make sure that any brother around me is taken care of. You're all right. You know, just like I would hope that my brothers would do the same for me. You know, but it gets to a point where if you start to see like, yo, I think you're taking advantage of my kindness, you know, of my brotherhood, then that's where the limit comes in. Like, no. And you have to get to the point where you can just stop. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you're gonna have to try to figure this out on your own now. You know what I mean? You can't spend your whole motorcycle career living off of somebody else, off your brothers. It doesn't work like that. You know, it's a give or take. You know, the way I see it is if I go on a run and I don't have the money, it happens. And anybody can say like, oh, I always have the money for runs. Either you're just super, super balling, you know what I mean? You got it like that, but not everybody has it like that, you know? So if I'm short on cash, like, hey man, I got money to eat and get a room. On the way back, my gas might be short. Hey, no problem, bro. I got you. You know what I mean? Then the next time around, you could be going through something. Hey man, I can get there. I got the room. I'll just be short on food. No problem. I got you. You're not going to go hungry. That's how it should be. Not you just living off of me and you look good when you go out. I feel like, well, shit, bro, since you owe me money, run me that outfit because I'll probably buy it anyway. That's just my 2 cents on it.
What about you, Dirt? What you got on that?
I mean, pretty much I'm on the same lines. I mean, I'll start off by saying everything has its limits. I can't think. I thought about this before we started, and I can't really think of anything that doesn't have its limits. We like to say there's limits. You know, I'm a father, and I'd go to any length for my child, but I've got 4 adult children, and I know there's a point in time where I'll cut my kids off. You know, so I think everything has its limits. It's just scenario based. So I've had brothers who are literally hungry. You know, I mean, they're at the point they're working, but they're just struggling so much. They don't have enough food. They aren't really got it. They don't have a very good place to live. And he was a good brother. So I wanted him with me on everything we did. So we basically took turns sponsoring that dude on trips when we go places and do things because, you know, we just knew that he didn't have what it took, but he didn't have the funds to do what we were doing because it gets expensive, as we all know, out riding around every weekend, going to events and going places. So we would sponsor him, and we made jokes about it. Whose date are you today? But we didn't mean it maliciously, you know. And we chuckle, and I'm sure his pride might have been hurt a little bit, but it was done with so much love and so much genuine concern that I can't say how another man feels, but I mean, I know none of us felt bad about it. We were just glad to have our bro along, and we were glad to be in a situation financially to where, you know, we could do that. On the other side, though, there are the guys that every time you turn around, they don't have money for this and they don't have money for that. And we offer, you know, hey, well, you know, we got you. But you actually know that, I mean, you watch them, and like you were saying earlier, you know, they always have a beer in their hand, or they always have something to smoke or whatever, but yet they don't have money to come out and bro with you. So, yeah, I'd say there's limits. but it's just situation based. It's just nothing more than tough love that you would show anybody in your life. You know, I mean, just because you call them bro and just because they're brother doesn't mean you're obligated to, one, pay for everything they do, and two, to be honest, if they're fucking up as a brother, we owe it to them to say, hey, bro, you're fucking up. You're taking advantage and you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, and I'm going to call you on it. So that's all I really have on that from that point of view.
And I think the only, you know, taking it one step past that would be offering them like, hey, this is how you fix it, or hey, like, come to my house, sit down, I'm gonna feed your family tonight, and then you and me, we're gonna go out in the garage, we're gonna go over your finances, we're gonna try to get this shit right. You know, because like you said, this is an expensive fucking lifestyle. You know, I mean, between, you know, bike payments, if you got one, bike payments, that's a motherfucker right there. You know, like I told somebody what I was paying monthly on my bike, and they said, bro, I'd lose my house. I said, man, well, I'm stupid, but that's just me. But no, I completely agree.
I think
everything has its limits, and you know, kind of like what Black Jaxx was saying. You know, I don't mind helping, but when I start feeling taken advantage of, that's when I start having an issue.
Well, that's that. When I say tough love, what you were saying, punk rock, when I say tough love, I mean, just telling a brother he's fucked up doesn't do him any good, right? I mean, telling a brother like, hey, you're fucking up and here's how you fix it. Because I've been in those, I've been broke. I've been where I've mismanaged my money to an extent to where I'm living check to check or can't pay certain bills. Been there, done that. You know, I don't know too many people in our guys like us that haven't, you know. But now I know how to not do that. So that tough love is sitting down with them saying, hey, bro, you're fucking up, but let me show you let me give you some options. Let me give you some recommendations. Because that's what a brother does. I just wrote a thing. I think it posted today or yesterday. It was talking about not looking down on your bro. It's the old saying, except for to give a hand to help somebody up, right? And it kind of was, it was somewhere in that. I don't remember from one post to the next, but it was something about that, you know, about giving options of how to get out of the current situation they're in. So I'd agree with you 100%, punk rock. I mean, you're not really a brother either if you're not offering solutions or helping them find their way through their hard times.
100%.
I feel that there's a difference, you know, there's a difference between a bro and a brother. And I tell, you know, my brothers the same thing. You know, there's a difference, and you have to learn that, because you'll hear bro tossed around a lot. Oh, that's my bro, or that's my brother. But there's a difference though, you know, in every club. You know, your brothers are gonna do, and he's gonna show more than just say it and scream it. Oh, brotherhood, that's my brother. They're gonna show it to you, and you're gonna know without a shadow of doubt, like, he's got your back through everything. You know, everybody, no matter what club you're from, everybody in that patch is not your brother. And this is not me knocking club life, because I love it. I wouldn't change this for the world, you know. But one thing coming into this that guys don't really understand is, you know, everybody in your club is not going to be your brother or your sister. You know, some are just going to be just that, just your bros. You know, and your brother, if it's your brother, and you know their finances are not up to par or where it should be to handle this lifestyle, you sitting down with him and talking to him like, hey man, you know, what can we do to change what's going on? I mean, do you need a better job? You know what I mean? Do you need to learn how to manage your finances? Like, what can we do? You know, you sitting down talking to them like that, they shouldn't take that to heart and take it a bad way, because they know like, hey, this is my brother looking out for me. You know what I mean? You sitting down with a bro and be like, hey man, we need to, what can we do to fix your finances? And they start taking it to heart like, oh, we trying to say I'm broke or blah, blah, blah. That's your bro. You know what I mean? Because you can't take me trying to help you. I'm not trying to downplay you. I'm not trying to knock you because your finances are bad. I'm trying to help you out. And I would expect my brothers to do the same thing for me. Like, hey, Black Jaxx, man, you need to get your shit together. Okay. All right. I'm not going to sit back and cry about it. I might not like what I'm hearing, but believe me, I'm listening. Believe that.
And that's how it should be. Is because but my personal opinion is there's a shit ton of leaders in the motorcycle club community, and there aren't too many followers, right? But a lot of these leaders know how to follow, and that's what makes this whole thing work. And like, to me, if somebody were to come up to me and I consider them family, saying, "Hey man, look, like, I'm tired of not seeing you at runs. I'm tired of not seeing you, even on the fucking weekends and shit when we go 200 miles down the road for lunch and stuff like that. I'm tired of not seeing you with those things. And I want to help get you to those things because I love you. I love spending time with you. I love seeing you. I love riding with you. Let's get this figured out." I think people shouldn't be offended by that. But then again, I can only speak for me. I mean, there's really not a whole lot of somebody can tell me that I'm going to get offended about. You know, um, but yeah, I really hope that there's somebody out there that's going through this that hears this episode and knows that they're your brothers are trying to help you from a place of love and from a place of respect, and they're trying to get you back out on the road, and they're trying to get you back involved with the club, and then like that's where that's coming from.
So let's flip the script a little bit. Let's look at it from the other side. Um, is there limits on brotherhood? Absolutely. Asking your brothers to do something for you. So let's let's just switch the perspectives. You can ask your bros to do too much too, because we just said it, but from a different way, and I'm leading into something. If you're always asking your bros to pay your way, and if you're always asking your bros to cover you, or you're always starting off issues and then you're asking your bros to come and back your play, and you're wrong, then you're asking them to do too much, and that brother is putting his brothers in a moral dilemma, because now we talk about there's no bounds, there are no limits to brotherhood. That now that you didn't pay your brother's way, or you didn't show up to back a brother's play because maybe you back his play, but then you chew his ass out later, whatever. He's like, "Hey, you're supposed to be my brother, you have my back." And it's like, yeah, but you were fucked up and you were wrong. So you can ask your brother to do too much. You shouldn't ask your brother to do something he's not cool with doing. So I mean, as a true brother, there's not going to be a whole lot that I'm not going to do for you. I'll probably do just about anything I'm physically, financially, and I don't know, mentally capable of doing, if it comes right down to brass tacks. But you start asking me to do some just really ridiculous shit that's going to put me and my family and my other brothers in harm's way for absolutely no good reason, I'm probably going to tell you no. So the other side of that is you can ask a brother. There are bounds of brotherhood in that sense too, that just because we're brothers doesn't mean that I'm going to do everything you ask me to do, or I'm going to, every time you're in a situation that I'm trying to figure out how to word this, but I'm going to be there to either bail you out or to pay your way or to whatever, because it goes both ways. If you're a good brother, I wouldn't ask you to do something that's going to wreck your family life. I wouldn't do that. I'd be like, "Man, I know you could come over here right now and you could help me out and get me out of this trouble, but it's going to destroy your family life. Why would I want you to do that?" So looking at it from the other way, asking brothers to do things you shouldn't ask them to do. I mean, we should be willing to go to just about any lengths, but be careful what you ask your brother, I guess is what I'm trying to say, if that makes sense.
Ooh, ooh! Actually, asking me, what's up? Good, hi. I'm ready for it.
I agree with that. You know what I mean? I think that you should, if you know your brothers, how much you can ask of your brothers. You know what I mean? And I feel like if you expect your brother to pretty much fuck up his household to help you out, that's a very selfish act to me. You know what I mean? Because you have brothers from your organization, from your nation, who who can do that. You know what I mean? Who can and will, you know, who can go that extra above and beyond without saying so much for you, and don't really have anything that, you know, to lose like that. So they're just with it like that, full blown, like, let's go, I'm ready, you know. And some brothers can't. Some brothers have families, you know what I mean? Some brothers have that career that's holding everything together, and they can't lose that. So you should know, like, okay, I'm going to do this. I can't ask this brother to do it with me, you know what I mean? Or to come over here and let's do this. You can't, because you don't want to destroy what they have going on. You know what I mean? So it, once again, it has its limits. You know, it has its limits. You should know how far you can push it, you know. And on top of that, the first thing you should think of before you even try to get anything is who you're with. And it's not, is it going to destroy just me, or is it going to destroy everybody around me as well?
Holy shit, right there, man. wasn't ready for that. But then, can we talk about, when we're talking about contributing, right? Can we talk about percentages, right? So, like, let's say I make $300,000 a year, and Road Dirt makes $30,000 a year, right? So I've seen this, and this kind of pisses me off, is that, you know, you got the dude that's pretty well off saying, man, well, I was able to make it to this run. I paid for this hotel room. You know, we did this, we did this. It was all on my dime and blah, blah, blah. But, you know, Road Dirt only bought a soda for everybody. You know, can we talk about how, like, maybe my 100% and your 100%, they're still 100%, but they might be different. It might be manifested in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been grinding for, I'm 50. I've been grinding for over 30 years now. My wife's the same, you know, we've been grinding hard, and we're financially, we're doing pretty good right now. Like I said, I mean, our kids are grown, and there's been points when we were poor. I mean, we were broke, we were poor. I mean, we're all service members. So, you know, military, there's points in your military life where you don't make shit. And now we're gone and doing good. So I am that guy who makes more than the average dude. And I'm aware of that, you know, and I'm comfortable with that. I mean, I'm comfortable with grabbing a tab, and I'm comfortable with paying for a hotel room, because I'm not going to do anything I can't afford, and I'm not going to do it. I mean, it's just money, right? At the end of the day, that's probably why I'll never be rich. But you know, I have that attitude. I just like to throw money around, but you know, spend money. I don't give a shit. I'm like, yeah, whatever. New bike, let's do it. New gun, let's do it. That's just kind of how the way I live. But all my bills are paid, and I have a savings, shit like that. But I mean, there was a point in time when I was broke as shit, and I remember when people would do nice things for me, and I really appreciated it. So I try to do the same now. And absolutely, you can't, everybody's 100%. I mean, even, let's not just go financially, but yeah, financially, everybody's 100% is different. But also, everybody's, the way everybody can commit to the club is different too. I mean, if you got a guy who's a military service member who's deploys a lot or trains a lot, he can't just stop and go if he's got block leave. If he only gets block leave once a year, and they tell him when he gets his leave, or if you've got a guy who's an over the road trucker, and he's, you know, or if you've got a guy who's working nights, which we've got all those, right? I experienced all those. They're what they can do is not the same as what the next guy can do. And I think you just have to understand that. A good brother, good leaders are aware of that. But like everything else, as long as they're not using it for an excuse, because motherfuckers, let's be honest too, motherfuckers use shit for excuses all the time when they just, not everybody, but you know, the guy that doesn't want to do anything, that wants to be lazy, you can't allow them to make excuses. But yeah, as a good bro, as a good brother, and as a good leader, you have to be aware of what everybody's capable of, what their limitations are, and just and hold them to that respectfully.
I think it's like a puzzle. You know, we're trying to put this puzzle together to get the bigger picture, and some people just have more pieces to contribute to the puzzle than others do. You know what I mean? You can contribute way more than, you know, so-and-so can. But at the end of the day, if they're trying and they're making an effort to contribute, that's what matters. You know, if they're trying their best to add pieces to the puzzle to get the bigger picture with you, that's what really matters, man. And don't knock that man or that woman for not being able to contribute as much as you can at the time. You know, you might be up. You know, you might have that good job where, you know, you can contribute so much, and they might be just starting or starting over, you know, but they're still trying. You know, one thing I've learned is everybody's one issue away from not having anything. You know, it takes one bad move, one bad decision, or it might be something that you just had no control over to where you have nothing, you know, and that ties into just because you can do so much, you don't have to throw it in somebody's face. You know what I mean? Just contribute what you can. As long as you're making an effort, that's all that matters. We're all trying to get the bigger picture. You know, if you can do it, do it. Whatever it takes, whatever, every little bit helps. And that's the bottom line in my book. As long as you're trying, that's all that matters to me. I don't care how much you're putting in. If you can buy a bag of chips, some ice, you know, and a couple of six packs, I'm cool with that. You know, I'm cool with that. You're putting in, you're helping the bigger picture.
Exactly. You don't got to match my dollar amount, but you got to match my effort. I like that. I like that. So, hey, I kind of want to move into, because I think we can come up with a million different scenarios for just this, right? And then we're still not going to cover everybody's specific example that they would want to use, right? Out in listener land. Um, but the second one, and not to put people's business out there, but there may be somebody affiliated with this podcast that been through this. But prospecting for, or having one of your biological brothers prospect for you, you know, or a family member rather. Um, what kind of unique difficulties do you find, like if you're bringing a family member or your biological brother, you know, to the club? What kind of unique issues do you think that you would face as a patch holder raising a prospect that is also your brother?
Ooh. I think one of the first things that you would experience is your brother, biological brother, blood, family. I think that they would expect for you to go a little easy on them. You know what I mean? They would expect for you to yeah, like pretty much just make it a little bit easier. You know, me personally, I don't I don't I don't feel that you should do that. You know what I mean? I feel like they should get the full blast of what prospecting is like, just like you did, and just like those before you did. You know, if my one of my brother or my son or my grandson, which I have, if I'm still lucky enough to be around in the club and they say like, "Hey, Papa," or "Hey, Dad, I think I want to do this," or "Can you get me in? Can I cross over as soon as I come in since I'm your son?" Yeah, you can do that because you're my son, but you're not. You're gonna hang around just like I did. You're gonna prospect just like I did. You know, so you can learn. You can learn just because it's your biological brother. Don't go easy on them. You know, don't you can't save them from everything. You know what I mean? Let them experience that. Let them gain that love and that knowledge just like you did.
So I don't have I never shared a patch with a biological family member, but I was getting ready to prospect one of a man that I consider my family, my former club, and he was asking me about, you know, like certain things, like, you know, the typical questions that people that know that they're getting ready to start prospecting, that know that, you know, the club's looking at them at that way now. You know, the all those typical questions that people start to ask, like, hey, like, you know, really, what is going to be expected of me? You know, like dues and you know, shit like that. And I told him, he asked me, he's like, well, you're going to be my sponsor, right? I said, no, I'm actually going to ask that I don't be your sponsor, because you and I have that connection. And I feel like I might slip up and tell you some shit that you don't need to know, or my personal feelings will get involved in a situation between you and a brother. And regardless of what my personal feelings are, my brother's never wrong. So that's that's why I was gonna tell you, no, I can't prospect you. I can't be your sponsor. But
That's a good way to be though. You know, if it's your brother, biological, you already know each other. You know what I mean? Either you've grown up around each other, but you already know each other. So allowing them to prospect under somebody else gives them a chance to learn somebody else. They're not just, because if they're under you, they're more than likely going to just stick with just you. You know what I mean? And they're not gonna venture out and branch out as much to learn their other bros. You know what I'm saying? So you put them with somebody else. Now that gives them a chance to learn somebody else, to learn their sponsor, and it makes it easier for them to branch out and learn other people. So I think that's a hella good idea. A matter of fact, just went through that myself with somebody, and it turned out that was a great idea. He got a chance to learn all his brothers, and build a bond with everybody in the chapter, not just one person. So I agree with that 100%.
And that's the important part, is that they get with everybody else in the chapter. It's not just like, all right, cool, he can be under my wing and shit like that. Because I mean, he's still gonna have to learn from you regardless. As a patch holder, he's gonna have to learn from you, and then it just makes that avenue a little bit easier for him to approach, because he is your brother, saying like, hey man, my sponsor fucking told me to do this, and I don't really understand what he fucking told me to do. So like, what am I supposed to do? And it's really easy for us to just sit there and be like, oh bro, this is what he meant, blah blah blah. But now we have that opportunity to look at him and say, hey man, like, you're trying to call this man brother, instead of just trying to please him and be a yes man and do whatever. Why don't you go back to him and say, hey man, look, like, I was afraid, I didn't want to let you down, so I said, yeah, I got it the first time, like I was trying to impress, but I fucked up. uh I didn't understand what you were trying to tell me, so may I get a couple more extra minutes of your time, and we can run that back, we can see what's going on.
You can go through this prospecting thing, and I've heard countless conversations of potentials or people who are thinking about joining a club. Even on this podcast and a couple of others, they ask, like, what is it like? You can talk about that all day long, but you still won't hit every point or everything that's going to come up when you're prospecting. So when I get asked that question, I try to tell them, like, hey man, prospecting is what you make it. You know what I mean? It can be hard as shit, or it's still gonna be hard, but it can be harder than what it is, and what it has to be. Or you can go in there with that mindset, like, yeah, it's gonna be hard, and I gotta put in work, but I'm gonna enjoy it. Prospecting is one of the easiest times you can have within the club, because you still have that chance to say, hey, I didn't know. You know what I mean? I didn't know. I didn't know I couldn't do that. So I didn't know I couldn't say that. But the moment you cross over and you're a full patch member, oh yeah, that's when we say it all the time. That's when the work begins, because now you're supposed to know. You know what I mean? Now you're supposed to know. Now you're setting an example for the prospects who are coming in upon you. You know what I mean? So with the prospecting thing, I think people should stop asking. Like, oh, what do I have to do? You'll see. You'll see. We're not going to make you do anything that we haven't done already. You know what I mean? And one of the things that I haven't really heard anybody talk about when it comes to that conversation is everybody joining the club as a prospect, there's going to come a time or a moment where you're going to be like, fuck this. Everybody's had it. You know what I'm saying? Where you're like, man, fuck this, man, But if it's something that you really want to do, if you're part of a club that you really want to be a part of, and these are the people that you want to spend that time out there on the road for, man, that's not even going to matter. You're going to bounce back. You know what I mean? And I feel like that moment, when you go through that moment, that's the test of, do you really want to be here? is this something that you really want to do? You know what I mean? Whether it's, you know, a late night ride and it's fucking 30 degrees outside and you got to go grab something for a brother. Yeah, that's your moment. Like, man, fuck this. But if you keep going and you get that task accomplished, that's another piece in that love for the club that you add on to that, that you build onto that. You know what I mean? You just got to grit your teeth and get rid of it. Because believe me, we've all gone through it. It ain't nothing that you're going to do that your brothers haven't done already. You know, it might just be a little bit easier or it might be just a little bit rougher, but we've all gone through it. All of us.
I got nothing to follow that with. That's
You know, I don't have any biological brothers. But over the years I've watched, you know, brothers, sons, dads. I've watched family members interact through the prospecting process and then as patches. And it's, when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, I mean, it's beautiful to see multi-generational members wearing the same patch. I mean, that must be a proud moment. I've got a friend in another club that just patched. He's like a 20-some-year member, and he just patched his son not too long ago, you know, and that's awesome. And I've got, you know, over here, there's lots and lots of brothers and sons and everything else that have that are wearing the same patch, and that's beautiful. I remember, though, in a couple of instances over the years that it seems like what will happen, what's a risk when I know it's a risk because I've seen it, is the family member has a skewed view of their son or their brother, that whether they see him they always see him in their best, or they see him in everything, but they've seen him at their best. So they're like, okay, this is what they're capable of, or they choose to see what they want to see. You know, that's a danger. You know, I've seen, you know, family members in the club, when you're talking to them about their family member and their performance, and they're like, well, no, they're doing great. And they weren't really doing great. You know, they had the potential to do great, and they've done great in the past, but right now at this very moment in time, they're fucking up. And sometimes it's hard for family members to see that in their family member when they're, you know, prospecting, or even when they're trying to meet their obligations to the nation, and you call them out on it. So I think that's just a challenge. I think it's a beautiful thing, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just think that everybody needs to be aware. And what you said earlier, absolutely. Hell, your friend shouldn't even prospect for you. You're right, punk rock. Your friend, your brother, if you know that guy, he should prospect under somebody else. You know, should be a sponsor, because it's not fair to anybody if you're sponsoring someone that close to you. But also, you don't have the ability, you know, you're going to give him, even if you don't mean to. I think personally, you're going to give passes. One of two things are going to happen. You're either going to give passes, or you're going to be triply hard on that motherfucker, and then he's really going to suffer. So either way, it's not fair to like sponsor a family member. But as long as you're aware that, you know, that to make sure that you keep that family and that blood separate during that process or during decisions, and people somebody's going to have to call that guy, because there's going to be a time when that family member doesn't see what you're saying, and they're trying to come to bat for him, even if they don't mean to. They're going to come to bat for that man, and that man needs to be dealt with. And when I say dealt with, it might be something minor, you know what I'm saying? But he need his actions aren't meeting the mark, and he needs to be called out on it. You can't allow the family member to step up and be like, oh, no, because that's the only real problems I've seen. And I did see one time, this is it's not funny, but there was a kid, my old club, there was a young guy, and his dad was in the club, and then he prospected, and he still lived at home. So everything the family did, he was right there. And his dad was a chapter president, and he was in that, they left him in that chapter. And it wasn't a bad thing, but everything they did, it was like, oh, he's fully involved with the club. He's heavily involved. But the second his dad left the club, and he had to actually get on his bike and start showing up to stuff and paying for things and actually acting like a member and not a son, he couldn't keep up. And that was interesting because he was just so used to having dad pay for everything everywhere he went. And he was used to having, they'd get together at the house, or they'd get together up the road, or they'd go to one of his sister's ball games, and everybody would go together. That was just, he was with his family, he was right there. But then when it was like, you got to get on your scoot now and ride 40 miles to the closest chapter and go attend church, and you need to pay your dues, and you need to, do whatever you have to do. He couldn't keep up, which was interesting. And that probably, if they would have let him prospect in another chapter, that probably would have sorted itself out 3 or 4 years early, instead of waiting to come to fruition at the end.
So that's another thing that I think of when I think about prospecting one of my friends or one of my family members is, what if they are told that they have to leave? That's something that I don't think I could deal with real well. What are you guys' thoughts on that? Whether it's out and bad, whether it's just, hey, you're like out and good, whatever, but they have to leave.
It would suck, yes, damn. Yeah, that shit would suck, but you would have to understand, like, man, it's not personal, it's not personal. It just might have been something that they weren't doing and they just couldn't cut it. They just couldn't hack it, but I'd be lying if I said that it wouldn't bother me, that I wouldn't feel bad if they had to get put out bad. And because that's your family, you're gonna try to keep that from happening. You're gonna try to see if you can maybe stop it. But if it's something that just, it can't be done, then you're gonna have to just, keep pushing. The show doesn't stop because your family member is not here anymore. They got put out bad, or, they just had to be excused, indefinite leave or something like that. You know what I mean? So you just got to deal, got to try to swallow it down, but I can't say that I can actually say that I would do my best to try to keep them from doing that to them. Like, let me see if there's something that I can do. At least I put in an effort, because I would hate to lose a bond with my biological brother because I didn't try for him, and because I know that he would do the same for me. So I'm gonna try for you. But if I can't save you, if I can't save the situation, then it pretty much it is what it is.
Yeah, it makes for a real awkward Thanksgiving too, I'm sure. What you got, Road Dirt?
Yes, I saw one. Like I said, this was in another lifetime, but I saw a guy get put out in bad standing, and his son was in the club, and that was awkward. Because when someone's out in bad standing, people talk shit about them. Usually, you're at a national meeting, you're like, that motherfucker, blah blah blah, and and then here this kid standing there. I say kid because he was a young man. He was a man. He's standing there just looking, but that's an awkward situation to have your dad out in bad standing from the club you're a member of, so it's the reality is it could happen, and it will if it does happen, what are y'all going to do about it? And when a club gets a little bigger, you're not, everybody's not going to have the wherewithal to shut their mouth when he comes around and not say dumb shit out of respect of the other guy. I don't know. It's just a tough one. I've also seen members that are family put down their colors when things are at odds and things start causing problems in their internally, that they're like, you know what, I'm not going to stay in the club because it's just not, it's causing family issues. And I've seen people put down colors over that. So, it's a tricky situation. I've not personally experienced sharing a patch with a biological family member, but I've seen a lot of it. And, like I said, as beautiful as a thing as it is, as it can be, it definitely is tricky and comes with a lot of unexpected curves.
Do you think that, say, for example, it did happen like that, my thing that I was thinking about while you were talking was like, well, damn, if, say, for example, my son got put out bad, you know, or my brother, you know, would that start making the club look at you differently? You know what I mean? Because that's your brother. People might think like, you know, they act one and the same. You know, if he did this, how do we know that his brother's not going to do it? Or how do we know that his dad's not going to do it? Or we already know that his son's not going to do that? You know,
I would hope not.
I would too. You know, I would too. But it just ran across my mind like, man, would they start looking at me differently because my son did this?
Well, I think if you were living together and then and the one that got put out bad was skimming money from the chapter funds and doing all kinds of scandalous shit, and y'all are sharing the same house under the same roof, you know, you might get a sideways glance or two, but I couldn't imagine outside of sitting down and doing a long, hard talk with that brother that would put it to bed, right? Because we're all individual men and we walk our own path. But I would say you're probably right. It could happen. More than likely, it probably does with some people because not everyone's able to sit down and intelligently think through a problem and, you know, separate the facts and then go from there.
Yeah, I think Jaxxx got a very valid point too. It's easy to say, well, you know, fucking this dude did this shit and he's his biological brother, so how long is it till he does that? But at the same time, aren't we supposed to be judged by our actions? Right? Like that's one of the biggest things when we're talking about, you know, um, actual politics, like governmental politics and shit like that. We talk about, well, judge me for my actions. Don't judge me because fucking Timmy four miles down the road did some shit. Judge me for me. You know, so do you think that we kind of do ourselves a disservice when it comes to that?
I don't think so. I think that it's one of those things that you're gonna have to keep that in mind. You know what I mean? When you want to bring in somebody that close um into the club with you, you have to keep that in mind. Like, hey man, this goes like, and I think that that's really a conversation that needs to be had before they make that next step. You know what I mean? Like, hey, for one, don't make me look bad in this club. You know what I mean? Within this organization, don't do that. You know what I mean? Um, and two, don't embarrass yourself either. You know, if things go south and you don't make it for what reason, you know what I mean? That's not going to break the bond, the family bond, you know, the brotherly bond between me and you. You know what I mean? Because especially like if you live together and you get put out bad, does that mean that now we got to walk around the house with it being attention? You know,
Yeah.
because you felt like I didn't do anything to help you. I didn't do anything to help the situation.
This is interesting. Now that you said that, think about this. And I know every one of us has heard this come up in discussions before in our past years of being involved in clubs. How about you prospect that blood family member or that biological family member and one of you get put out bad, no contact? I mean, that's a real thing, right? And how are you going to deal with that? And you know, this conversation has come up more than once, you know, because it's hard enough when you get put out bad, no contact, and you've known a guy for 15 years, and then you're like, oh shit, you know, and you can't walk up in public, you know, or you shouldn't do it at all. You shouldn't even speak to the motherfucker if there's no contact. But regardless, whatever that no contact order is put out amongst members, what if that person is, you know, there you go. So you do your biological family, you prospect him, he's your brother. Now one of y'all are put out bad, no contact. How are you going to deal with that? Are you going to wink, wink, nod and say, yeah, I'm not talking to him? Or you know, what are you going to do? That's a real obstacle.
Yeah, it'd be some shit like, hey, Aunt Marjorie, can you tell Devin to pass me the mashed potatoes, please? Like that. I mean, like as a joke, right? Like 'cause that's just some heavy shit. That's just how I deal with that kind of stuff. But man, I don't know if I could do it. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. You know, if like let's say my father, right? Because I got one brother I don't talk to, the other one's fucking dead, so I can't really like put myself in that situation. Like if my father and I shared a patch, and then he got put out bad, like that would destroy my fucking entire world. You know, because of the love that I have for my father, and then the love that I have for this club. Now you're asking me to choose. You know, do I want to continue a relationship with my father, or do you want me to continue my status in this club? I don't know if I could choose, to be honest.
That's a heavy fucking situation to try to deal with, man. Like, I didn't even think about like the no contact. I didn't think about that one. You know what I mean? Like, that's heavy as fuck. You know, like, am I supposed to walk around the house and just not say nothing to you? You know what I mean? Or like, damn.
Yeah. So I actually saw that one time. Matter of fact, now that we're talking about it, I remember that coming up in my former club, and it was such a similar situation, you know, and it was just, without going into details, it was some people are really close, but you know, this is where you would hope. I guess it depends on the severity of the reason he's no contact, right? Because if the guy did something that's, I mean, we all have our lines, right? Everybody's lines. I would think if it's just his character was in question and he did this and he did that and he swung on a president, national president, and they put him out bad, no contact. You know, is that really bad enough to ask you know, if it's my blood brother and I'm living with him, probably be like, hey, don't talk club business. Don't fucking bring him to anything, and just live your life, and we'll see, you know, keep him away from us, you know, opposed to like he did something that goes against everybody, like touched a kid or something, you know. I mean, that's, I don't know. So the severity of the reason he's out bad, no contact, I would hope that and I'd hope that the leadership and the club, my brothers, would understand. And I'm just spitballing right now. You know, if I had a biological brother that was out bad, no contact, I would hope that I would still be able to maintain my relationship with my club, and they would not really expect me to, you know, not talk to my brother, because I mean, you know, he's been my brother for 50 fucking years, and now you're telling me I can't talk to him. I don't know. That would be, you're right though. That would be that's a heavy ask. You know, that's a heavy fucking ask, to ask a man, to ask your brother not to talk to his biological brother because he failed as a club member. He's still your brother, and you're still going, you might live with him, or you might see him at Thanksgiving. You might see him every day. So does the leadership, is that something they give an exception to and understand? Or do they condemn you and tell you you're not worth a fuck as a brother, because you refuse to break contact with your biological brother? That's an interesting conversation. I think that would deserve a case by case discussion and special exceptions. But it's real. It's a good thing to talk about, because that's the reality. If you invite one of your biological family members to come prospect with your nation, that's the reality you might be faced with, and you both have to understand that.
100%. I like how you put that it's situational, you know, because yeah, I mean, I would have zero problems cutting my father off if I found out he was a fucking pedophile. Zero problems. Like, oh, fucking off you fuck, sir. I'm gonna go make sure that I don't fucking carry on that gene now. Thanks. But for God, a lot of fucking reasons that somebody can get put out bad of a club, I don't see as justifying me being able to, or not being able to, but I don't see as me justifying cutting a relationship with my father. Because like you said, like, I mean, I'm only 32. You holding up pretty good for 50, by the way. But I don't see me cutting off contact with my father because he didn't pay his dues or some shit like that, right? Like some little shit that can get you put out in a bad way. But I like how you brought that up. It's a case by case basis. So we don't have Dave here to tell us, but we're right at about an hour so far. What do you got for our guests before we get out of here, Road Dirt?
I mean, we're just like throwing some crazy shit out there and just like spitballing the stuff and thinking out loud. But I think the general message here is, you know, going back on to prospecting a family member, the things we talked about, they may be way out there and may have been a little ridiculous. It depends on the type of club you're in, how serious your club is. but I think we did a pretty good job of, if somebody out there is thinking about sharing a patch with a biological family member, I think we did a pretty good job of giving them some things to consider before they do it. That's all I have.
Yeah. What you got, Black Jaxx?
Hey, I agree, man. That they, hopefully whoever's listening to this, they do take into consideration in what we're saying. You know what I mean? Because it's not just on your brother. Like, what you do is going to affect me. You know what I mean? So if you end up getting put out or doing some dumb stuff, you're gonna make me look bad. So then in turn, that's gonna ruin our relationship as well. So you have all these different things to consider before you make that leap. But I mean, in the same sentence, it can be a beautiful thing. It can be a beautiful thing to be out there on that road with your brother or with your father. I would love to have my father, here, and to be able to get out there on that road and meet him, share the same patch. I have a club brother now whose father's an OG from the club, and I'm like, man, that's fucking sick. That's fucking sick that your father has so many years in this club, and now you're here and you did it the right way too. And you get to share that patch with him and hit that road with him, and that you look over and he's there. Man, I would love to have that happen. Love it. But you have to make sure that whatever family member that is that you're bringing in, that you definitely have that conversation, because y'all relationship could possibly get ugly because of it.
Yeah, because you can have a good relationship with somebody and want them to be in your nation, but I think if you take actual stock in it, you got to be able to identify, is this person, do I want them to be in my nation because I'm here and I think that it would be rad to fucking share a patch with them? Or, and really looking at it saying, like, yes, they are, not only do I feel that they're actually worthy of it, but I feel that they can maintain it as well, instead of just living in fucking fairy tale land. So, all right. Well, hey, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. We're gonna get out of here. Um, Road Dirt, Black Jaxx, thank you guys so much for hanging out and dropping out this knowledge, man, and giving us some perspectives on viewing this stuff. And I'd also like to take a quick second to remind everybody that if you go to Black Sales, that's SAILS supply.com, all of the purchases between now and Black Friday, they're going to go to buying underprivileged families, children, some bicycles. I've been asked not to drop their name, but I had a motorcycle club in the Midwest donate a bicycle. I got a homie out in Gulfport donating a couple bicycles as well. I'm really happy to have that happen. We're definitely going to make an impact, but seriously, whatever you want. And even if you think nothing on my site is kind of like what you want and something you would wear, I also have donation cards that are available for purchase. That just goes to buying these kids bicycles and helmets and covering the shipping as well, right?
What's your goal for bikes and where you at?
So right now I'm at I can afford about 3 bikes, and I want to get to 6, and that's not including the extras that were donated, right? Those I want to use as just icing on the cake. I still want to get to my 6.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm buying helmets and stuff like that too. And we're not buying no bullshit fucking bicycles either. We're getting some quality bicycles they're gonna last the test. They're gonna survive children. And those of us with kids, we know what that means.
So somebody go out there and buy 3 more bikes so he can hit his goal.
Boom, boom. You can do that, or I'd still be short 3 more bikes. Because like I said, all the donation bikes, those are just icing on the cake. But yeah, man, I really do appreciate everybody's love and support with my endeavor. Again, I had a lot of fun, and I've had my mind blown a couple times through this conversation. I really do appreciate you, gentlemen, and your knowledge and your time for this.
Oh no, thank you for having me, man. This is pretty sick. I appreciate that.
Awesome. Well, hey, this is it for Four for the Road this week, everybody. We appreciate you, and we'll catch you next week with some other fuckery. I'm sure we're gonna try to get Silent on here. I'm calling him out live. Well, this isn't live, but you know what I mean.
All right, y'all.
Later.
All right.
All right, later.